You rode your bike here. James Montgomery's eyes grew wide as he absorbed the sight of the woman. Her hair tousled by the breeze, framed in the doorway of his office. Emma Reynolds adjusted her stance, a self-assured smile appearing on her lips even as her heart raced. I stand firmly by my commitment to embody the principles I advocate regarding the reduction of carbon footprints. Moreover, there's no finer method to refresh your thoughts prior to a crucial meeting. The affluent executive reclined in his plush chair, observing her with a fresh curiosity. The resume laid out before him had certainly caught his attention, yet this moment was entirely unforeseen. Many applicants show up in their finest attire, arriving in Ubers or luxury vehicles. Attempting to convey an image of achievement, he remarked, indicating the chair opposite him. You came on a bicycle. Success manifests uniquely for each individual, Mr. Montgomery, Emma stated, easing into the chair and positioning her meticulously safeguarded portfolio on his desk. 6 hours prior, Emma had stirred from slumber in the shadows of her apartment. She searched for her phone, relying on its flashlight to navigate her way to the kitchen. The notice about the electricity cutoff resting on the counter clarified everything. For the third time this year. Perfect timing, she whispered, pulling a candle from the cluttered drawer. Mia emerged in the hallway, her hair a delightful mess from a night of slumber. The power's out once more? Just until payday, Emma remarked, glancing at her watch. Today marks my interview at Greenfield. Mia rested her back against the doorframe. The one featuring the eco-millionaire? Do you honestly believe they'll bring someone on board who lacks connections or an Ivy League background? They could bring in someone who has real answers, Emma said, arranging her sole professional ensemble. A pristine white button-down blouse paired with a navy pencil skirt she had found secondhand but maintained in perfect condition. Mia suggested, at least allow me to call you a ride. Arriving in a state of perspiration is not acceptable. Emma sighed as she meticulously arranged her portfolio. That's $30 we lack. Additionally, my cycling path winds through the park. I will have the opportunity to refresh myself upon my arrival. In a different part of the city, James Montgomery's day commenced with the soft descent of automated blinds in his luxurious penthouse. The smart home system chimed in with the day's agenda as he browsed through his collection of ties in the spacious walk-in closet. Today, you have 6 interviews lined up for the sustainability director role. Olivia's voice echoed through the speaker system, a gentle reminder of the busy day ahead. At 9, the first candidate arrived. James let out a sigh as he scrolled through the profiles on his tablet, the machine whirring softly as it prepared his espresso. Are there any notable mentions? The standard qualifications. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, prior roles at all the prestigious firms. James placed his cup on the table. Do any of them possess unique concepts? We require an individual who can truly create new ideas, rather than merely repeat conventional sustainability concepts. Olivia mentioned that there is one unconventional candidate. Emma Reynolds. Public university education, notable research achievements yet constrained corporate exposure. Her references describe her as exceptionally talented yet unorthodox. Perhaps a departure from the norm is precisely what we require, James murmured. At 8:45, Emma secured her bicycle to a street sign positioned outside the shining Greenfield Innovations headquarters. She slipped into the restroom, swiftly revitalizing herself. The morning ride had added a flush to her cheeks, yet she appeared polished, professional, if not affluent. As the receptionist pointed her toward the top floor, Emma inhaled deeply before entering the elevator. The doors swung open, unveiling a polished reception area where Olivia stood poised and ready. Is it Emma Reynolds? Olivia evaluated her with a swift look. You've arrived ahead of schedule. Traffic was lighter than anticipated. Emma responded with a subtle smile. Olivia's eyebrow arched ever so slightly. Did you ride your bike here? Absolutely. 5 miles on predominantly level ground. Now seated opposite James Montgomery, Emma stood her ground, undeterred by his sharp suit or the expansive cityscape that loomed behind him. Your environmental engineering proposals are truly remarkable, James remarked, perusing her portfolio. I'm intrigued to know, if finances were not a concern, What would you bring to life? That is precisely the point, Mr. Montgomery. Emma inclined her body slightly, eager and attentive. Financial constraints often hinder those who would benefit the most from sustainable solutions. I would create cost-effective solar solutions for low-income housing and implement water purification methods for communities lacking advanced infrastructure. James placed her portfolio on the table. Many candidates share their insights on advanced solutions designed for those who already have the means to access them. With all due respect, sir, those individuals are not the issue. Communities lacking choices persist in resorting to detrimental methods due to the absence of viable alternatives. As the conversation progressed, James became more and more captivated by Emma's blend of practicality and idealism. As the appointed hour drew to a close, he rose with a sense of hesitation. I appreciate your time, Ms. Reynolds. We have additional candidates to consider, but you can expect to hear from us by the end of the week. Emma collected her portfolio and offered a strong handshake. I appreciate the chance you've given me. Once she departed, James shifted his attention to Olivia, who had come in with the file for the next candidate. The candidate on a bicycle. Her research approach has an air of familiarity. Retrieve that unnamed document regarding affordable purification systems that was published by State University last year. 20 minutes later, Olivia hurried back in. It is she. That paper you've been referencing in meetings for months was penned by Emma Reynolds. James rose suddenly. Is she still here? Security indicates that she has just arrived in the lobby. Halt her. I need to talk to her right away. As Emma stepped back into his office, her expression a mix of bewilderment, James sprang into action without hesitation. Ms. Reynolds, I am pleased to extend to you the offer for the position. Emma's eyes fluttered open. However, the other contenders, none of them have authored the research that has been steering our water purification strategy for the past 6 months. At that moment, Emma Reynolds found herself at a loss for words. That paper wasn't published under my name, Emma finally managed, her poise slipping for just a moment. James rested against his desk, arms folded across his chest. At your request, the university has published it without revealing the author's identity. Why conceal your creations? Emma's shoulders squared. I sought for it to be evaluated based on its quality, rather than being overlooked due to the fact that it originated from a graduate student lacking connections. A smile danced at the corners of James's lips. Indeed, it captured my interest. We have been incorporating elements of your filtration design into our projects in Southeast Asia. You possess. The polished facade faltered once more, revealing the thrill that danced in Emma's eyes. That's precisely why I want you to be part of my team. The role offers an initial salary of $120,000, along with benefits. Emma's eyes grew large before she regained her composure. That's quite generous. However, James noticed the uncertainty in her tone. But my focus lies more on the nature of the work itself rather than the compensation. James motioned for her to take a seat once more. Will you be directing our sustainability initiatives and reporting directly to me? Emma sat delicately on the edge of the chair. Does this encompass community implementation? Are there practical uses outside of corporate clients? That isn't where our attention lies at the moment. Then, I would like to suggest an enhancement to the role, Emma stated. A community outreach program alongside the main commercial projects. Practical applications of our technology for neighborhoods that couldn't otherwise afford them. James studied her. Most candidates negotiated for higher salaries or better titles. That would require additional budget allocation. Consider it an investment in practical research. Lower-income communities have different needs and constraints. What works there can be scaled up, not the other way around. James walked to the window looking out over the city. From this height, the economic divisions were invisible, all neighborhoods blending into a uniform urban landscape. 3-month trial period for the community program, he said finally, turning back to her. If it shows promising results, we'll expand it. Emma rose to her feet and reached out her hand. Very well. I gladly accept your proposal, Mr. Montgomery. James, he clarified, as he shook her hand. Greetings from Greenfield. 2 weeks later, Emma found herself in her new office, enveloped by an array of research materials. Her workspace exuded simplicity, standing in stark contrast to the personalized offices of her colleagues, adorned solely with a modest potted plant and a cherished framed photo of her mother. A gentle rap at her ajar door unveiled Olivia. "Mr. Montgomery requests your presence at the Bennett meeting in 5 minutes," she stated. Emma seized her tablet. "Who is Bennett once more?" "Richard Bennett, a board member and an old acquaintance of James's father, is the one who will probably scrutinize your hiring," Olivia stated plainly. "He holds a strong belief in conventional corporate frameworks and questions your experience." "Understood," Emma replied, trailing behind Olivia into the conference room. Inside, James found himself next to an older gentleman, distinguished by his silver hair and a suit that was nothing short of impeccable. They were flanked by 2 other board members. "Ah, here she is," James rose to his feet. "Esteemed colleagues, I present to you Emma Reynolds, our newly appointed sustainability director." Richard Bennett's evaluation was quick and conclusive. "I see you made your way to the interview on a bicycle, Miss Reynolds." "Text, I did," Emma confirmed, settling into her seat. "How charming," Bennett observed. "I trust you understand that Greenfield engages with multinational corporations and government contracts. How things look holds significance." "Indeed, authenticity does," Emma responded with a serene demeanor. "Our clients seek us out for groundbreaking environmental solutions, not for how we get around." James cleared his throat. "Emma's investigation into affordable water purification systems is currently being put into practice in 3 nations. Indeed, I have gone through the paper," Bennett acknowledged. "Remarkable concept. However, achieving corporate sustainability demands more than just theoretical aspirations. It necessitates a grasp of profit margins and the expectations of shareholders." "With all due respect, Mr. Bennett," Emma leaned in, "sustainable practices and profitability can indeed go hand in hand. Companies that truly embrace sustainability initiatives demonstrate 16% higher long-term returns compared to those that engage in greenwashing." Bennett's eyebrows lifted ever so slightly. James interjected, expressing his belief that the purpose of our gathering was to discuss the Keller proposal. As the meeting unfolded, Emma's meticulous examination of the proposal's environmental implications captivated and astonished the board members. When she proposed changes that would enhance sustainability metrics and lower long-term expenses, even Bennett conceded with a reluctant nod. Later that afternoon, James paid a visit to Emma's office. "Bennett isn't easily impressed," he remarked, leaning against her doorframe. "You managed him effectively," Emma responded, her gaze fixed on her work. "I grew up with people underestimating me. You cultivate resilience." James mentioned that we have a dinner with potential investors tomorrow night. "Your presence would be greatly appreciated." "I will be present. Please send me the address of the restaurant. I can arrange for a car to come and get you." Emma finally raised her gaze. "There's no need for that. I have the ability to forge my own path." "Riding your bike?" James inquired, a hint of laughter in his tone. "Is that an issue?" James observed her intently for a moment. "When I launched this company, I was behind the wheel of a 15-year-old car, held together primarily by sheer optimism. My father remarked that I would never capture the attention of investors if I appeared desperate for their funds. What about it? He was mistaken. The investors who truly counted valued my ideas over my vehicle." He stood tall at the entrance. "The meal is scheduled for 7 o'clock. Come as you wish." The next evening, Emma pedaled her way to DeLuca's, a chic restaurant nestled in the heart of downtown. She secured her bicycle in the vicinity and adjusted her plain black dress before stepping inside. The maitre d' regarded her with a hint of doubt until she uttered James's name, at which point he guided her to an intimate dining room where James was seated with 3 elegantly attired men and 1 woman. James rose at once. "Everyone, meet Emma Reynolds, the creative force driving our new community sustainability initiative." As introductions unfolded, Emma observed the intrigued looks exchanged among the group. As they settled into their seats, one of the investors leaned in closer to her. "James noted that you showed up to your interview on a bicycle. Are you still traveling that route?" "Indeed," Emma affirmed. "Tonight is part of it. Wearing that dress." The The woman investor inquired, clearly impressed. With a few well-placed cuts, Emma beamed. The journey spans 5 miles. Beneficial for the planet, excellent for reflection, and I cut down around $2,000 annually just on parking. She chuckled, adding to the conversation about gym memberships. As dinner unfolded, Emma expressed her fervent beliefs about ensuring green technology reaches lower-income communities. To her astonishment, the investors posed insightful questions instead of brushing off her concepts. The woman investor pointed out that the market opportunity is truly vast. Reduced price points lead to broader acceptance. As the last bite of dinner was savored, James escorted Emma outside, where the gentle patter of rain had started to descend. "Allow me to take you home," he suggested, casting a quick look at her bicycle. "I'm waterproof," Emma joked, but a sudden thunderclap followed by heavier rain made her rethink that claim. Still, she wouldn't turn down a ride tonight. As James's electric luxury car smoothly navigated the streets that were growing less refined, he cast a glance at Emma. "My father expressed his disbelief in environmental technology, surprising me with his words. Requested that I pursue a path in conventional energy. When I launched Greenfield, he referred to it as a pastime venture." Emma shifted her gaze in his direction. What shifted his perspective? Silence. "He passed away before we achieved profitability." James's fingers curled firmly around the steering wheel. "At times, I ponder whether he would feel a sense of pride, or if he would still view my pursuits as mere fantasies. Considering what you've created," Emma said softly, "I believe he would have had to acknowledge his mistake." James arrived at the entrance of Emma's unassuming apartment building. "I appreciate your company this evening." The investors were captivated. Emma made a correction regarding Greenfield's potential. James responded with "your vision for it." "Sweet dreams, Emma." As she observed his car vanish into the downpour, Emma understood that this was the first moment she had glimpsed beyond James Montgomery's sleek facade, uncovering a depth she had never anticipated. "Do you reside here?" James's voice betrayed his astonishment as he gazed up at Emma's apartment building. The brick facade bore the marks of time, its small windows peering out, while the entry was fortified by a metal gate that had clearly weathered many storms. "Not everyone lives in penthouses," Emma replied, a touch of defensiveness seeping into her voice. "It's budget-friendly, conveniently located near 3 bus routes, and offers a safe spot for my bicycle in the basement." James adjusted himself in the driver's seat. "I never intended—" "It's fine," Emma interrupted, her hand moving toward the door handle. "I appreciate the lift." "Emma," James said, halting her in her tracks, "your presence tonight truly means a lot to me. The investors reacted to your genuine nature in a manner I've never witnessed before." She felt a subtle release of tension in her shoulders. "Sleep well, James." After a fortnight, Emma found her footing in her position at Greenfield. Her office transformed into a bustling center of collaboration as she gathered a dedicated team for her community outreach pilot initiative. The disparity between her professional environment and her private existence became ever more pronounced. At Greenfield, Emma moved through polished conference rooms and enjoyed catered lunches. Intricate coffee machines presented a myriad of beverage choices. Her peers engaged in conversations about holiday retreats and educational options for their kids. At home, she and Mia figured out how to make their groceries last until payday, while taking turns repairing the finicky water heater. Mia remarked one evening while they enjoyed their budget-friendly takeout, "So you're saying that you spent the day in meetings where they greenlit a 6-figure budget for your program, yet here we are, still eating $2 noodles together?" Emma elegantly twirled the noodles around her fork, a graceful dance of pasta in her hands. "I am setting aside funds for my mother's healthcare expenses. Moreover, I enjoy our evenings dedicated to noodles. Your affluent employer likely dines at upscale restaurants each evening." Emma pondered over James, questioning the validity of that thought. Even though they collaborated closely, personal information was limited between them. The following morning, Emma reached Greenfield to discover Olivia standing by her office. Olivia informed her of an emergency meeting in 10 minutes. "The investors of the Phoenix project have arrived ahead of schedule." With swift determination, Emma collected her materials. I found myself unprepared for today's presentation. James wasn't either. Richard Bennett orchestrated this, probably aiming to catch you both off guard. In the conference room, Richard sat with 3 investors, exuding an air of self-satisfied ease. James stood at the head of the table, appearing calm, yet Emma noticed the tension in his clenched jaw. "Miss Reynolds," Richard remarked, "we were just exploring the financial sustainability of your community initiative." One investor, a sharp-eyed woman named Diana Winters, turned to Emma. "Mr. Bennett suggests your program would be better structured as a charitable foundation, separate from Greenfield's core business." Emma settled into her chair. "That approach, with all due respect, views sustainability for lower-income communities as an act of charity instead of a form of innovation. Our pilot program is not about charity. This research is grounded in practicality." Richard countered that the research might never yield returns. "Could I?" Emma glanced at James, who gave a confirming nod. She summoned a presentation on the room's display. "Here are some sustainability solutions that the average consumer can access today. Costly, intricate, necessitating expert setup." With a swift motion, she transitioned to the next screen. "Here are the prototypes for our community programs. Easy to use, adaptable, and can be installed by the user. The production expense has decreased by 40%. Diana inclined her body slightly forward. "Reduced expenses lead to diminished profit margins." At first, Emma was in agreement. However, it also signifies broader market reach. Our top-tier offerings connect with approximately 15% of the possible clientele. These might attain 60%. For the next 20 minutes, Emma guided them through the intricacies of financial projections. As she concluded, an eerie hush enveloped the room. James was the one to initiate the conversation. "Emma's strategy resonates with our fundamental goals and broadens our market presence. I wholeheartedly endorse this path forward." Diana gave a slow nod. "I would appreciate it if you could share the pilot locations with me. Practical application, rather than mere forecasts." Certainly, Emma consented. "We have pinpointed 3 neighborhoods for the initial rollout." Richard's demeanor darkened. "Visits to these areas are not part of the usual protocol." "Maybe they ought to be," Diana responded with a calm demeanor. Once the investors departed, James faced Emma. "That was remarkable." Bennett disagrees. Bennett embodies traditional ideas, yet he holds sway over the board, causing James to pause. "The site visits must be flawless." Emma gave him her assurance that they would. "These communities might lack wealth, yet they thrive on innovation born from necessity. They will utilize our technology in ways we haven't even imagined." James observed her intently. "Your words carry the weight of lived moments." Emma confessed that she was raised in a neighborhood similar to those we are focusing on. "My mother held down 2 jobs. We had to be mindful of our resources and avoid costly, inefficient systems." A week later, Emma stood outside Greenfield's building. Anticipation building as a company car pulled up, bringing with it James and Diana. Emma dedicated countless hours to readying the neighborhood for this important visit, engaging with community leaders and residents involved in the pilot program. "I'll drive," Emma said, catching them both off guard. "I have an intimate familiarity with these streets that no GPS can match." As they journeyed away from the bustling heart of the city, the scenery transformed. Cozy residences, communal green spaces in unused areas, kids enjoying themselves in parks with aging play structures. "This is, in fact, my old neighborhood," Emma remarked as they came to a stop. "My mother resides just 3 blocks away from here." Diana surveyed her surroundings with authentic curiosity. "What was the duration of your stay here?" "Up until college. The state scholarship opened doors for me, yet many of my friends remain here." Emma clarified that it was by choice, not due to a lack of options. A vibrant community thrives here. Their initial destination was a community center where Greenfield had set up a prototype for a water collection and filtration system. Marcus Williams, the director of the center, welcomed them with a friendly demeanor. He explained how Emma's system has reduced our water bill by 40%, demonstrating the straightforward setup. We are allocating the savings to enhance our after-school program. Diana posed intricate inquiries as James watched the installation unfold. Emma observed him engaging with various community members, prioritizing listening over speaking. Their next destination was a series of quaint houses adorned with solar panels, all installed with Greenfield's innovative mounting system, crafted for effortless setup without the need for professional assistance. "My nephew and I put these up in a weekend," explained Mrs. Garcia, a retired educator. "For the first time in years, my electricity bill is finally under control." As they continued the tour, Emma observed James absorbing every detail, encountering a facet of life that was clearly new to him. As they approached the car, Diana glanced at Emma. "I have witnessed sufficient. I strongly advocate for complete funding during the expansion phase." Emma's smile was impossible to conceal. "Thanks a lot." Once they had seen Diana off at her hotel, Emma and James lingered in the car. James remarked on the remarkable nature of your community. "They have achieved remarkable feats despite having constrained resources. That's why I have faith in this program," Emma responded. "Innovation emerges beyond the confines of labs and boardrooms." James fell silent for a brief moment. "Could you take me to the place where you spent your childhood?" She was taken aback by the request. "Is that so? I seek a deeper understanding." Emma navigated her way to a charming, well-maintained house adorned with window boxes brimming with vibrant flowers. "That's where my mom lives. She is likely at her job at this moment. Front desk coordinator at a medical facility." James examined the house closely. "It appears to be a residence, inhabited, nurtured." "It is." Emma paused. "How about you? In what place did you spend your formative years?" "Exclusive properties, prestigious academies, residences crafted to captivate rather than provide refuge." His voice carried a surprising void. "My father held the conviction that appearances mattered above all else." Emma came to see that, even with his riches, James could grasp the nuances of appearances and societal pressures. Despite the stark contrasts between their worlds, there might be a thread of familiarity weaving them together. "This is it?" James inquired, as he stepped into the quaint community garden nestled between the apartment buildings. Morning sunlight streamed through the trees, casting a warm glow on the neat rows of vegetables and a quaint greenhouse made from repurposed materials. "This is it," Emma affirmed, as she greeted the various gardeners who were already hard at work. "We are putting forth a plan to implement the water reclamation system in this location, benefiting both the garden and the two buildings nearby." James crouched down to inspect the earth. "Excellent drainage, wise selection of location." An old man walked over, rubbing his hands on his faded jeans. "Ah, you must be the renowned Mr. Montgomery. Emma speaks of your company as if it holds the key to global salvation. Meet Mr. Chun, the coordinator of the garden." Emma made the introductions. "He has been pointing out the areas where water is being squandered in the existing system." "You can call me David," the man insisted, firmly shaking James's hand. "Emma mentioned that you were raised among exquisite gardens. Were any of them cultivated for food?" James conceded that it was purely decorative. "This is truly remarkable," David exclaimed with a smile. "Community nourished and community nourishing. We provide fresh produce to 30 families, along with the neighborhood kitchen." For the next hour, James trailed behind Emma and David in the garden, posing insightful inquiries about the patterns of water usage. Emma observed James jotting down ideas for enhancements that extended beyond their initial plans. James pointed out that the rainwater collection could be expanded to include those roof surfaces. By utilizing just a few extra resources, we could significantly increase the capacity. Emma regarded him with astonishment. "That's truly an excellent notion. I sometimes experience those," James said, a faint smile playing on his lips. Upon finishing their examination of the site, they strolled over to a quaint cafe, characterized by its eclectic furniture and robust coffee. Emma greeted the owner with a friendly wave as they stepped inside. "I used to study here during college," she explained, as they settled into a cozy corner table. "The finest coffee around, and they were always welcoming, allowing me to linger for hours over a single cup." James surveyed the cafe, absorbing the sight of the community bulletin board plastered with flyers, while the familiar faces exchanged greetings, each calling out names with warmth. It stands apart from the locations around Greenfield. Better or worse, Emma questioned. Simply distinct, James responded. Increased connectivity. Their coffee was delivered by a teenager who enthusiastically high-fived Emma. Mom says your prestigious position isn't keeping you from coming to see us regular folks. Emma chuckled, saying that nothing could possibly keep her away from her mom's cinnamon rolls. As the server departed, James leaned in closer. You truly belong to this community. I will always be. Emma stirred her coffee. These individuals stood by me during my college years, rejoiced at my graduation, and took care of my mom's groceries when she was unwell. Connections like that remain strong, regardless of a change in my address. James confessed that despite living in his building for 3 years, he couldn't name a single neighbor. That's the true distinction between our realms, Emma remarked softly. It's not about the money, it's about the relationships. At Greenfield, Emma's community program began to flourish. Thanks to Diana's backing and James's increasing excitement, the budget grew larger. Emma gathered a committed group, featuring Michael Park, an engineering prodigy with somewhat awkward social abilities, and Zoe Alvarez, a marketing expert who chose to participate despite more appealing opportunities from other divisions. During her interview, Emma inquired of Zoe, "What prompted you to transition from digital marketing to community outreach?" Zoe mentioned that her parents reside in one of the neighborhoods you are focusing on. I prefer to assist those in need rather than create social media strategies for individuals who are already well off. 3 weeks into the program's expansion, Richard Bennett approached Emma following a meeting. "What a remarkable little empire you're constructing," he said, his voice friendly yet his gaze icy. "James appears completely enchanted by your vision." "The data backs our approach," Emma responded calmly. "The board has given the green light to our budget, relying on anticipated returns. Data can be viewed from various angles," Richard argued, and James has always been drawn to those with lofty ideals. His father fretted over it endlessly. Just as Emma was about to reply, Olivia made her way over. "Emma, James is requesting your presence in his office." In the expansive corner office belonging to James, Emma discovered him carefully choosing a small potted plant from a selection on his desk. She inquired if I was in need of her. James lifted his gaze. "Tomorrow marks my mother's birthday. I usually send flowers, but after witnessing that garden, I considered that a living plant could hold more significance," Emma smiled. "So, you're seeking my guidance on plants? Your grasp of significant gestures surpasses my own." He waved his hands in frustration at the choices before him. "Everything here appears quite similar to me." Emma scrutinized the plants. "How would you describe your mother?" "Refined. Classic. Quietly enjoys observing birds, even if she would never confess to it." Emma chose a petite flowering plant adorned with fragile white blossoms. "Is that you, Jasmine? Timeless and enchanting scent. Draws in butterflies when placed by a window." James appeared to exhale a breath of relief. "Flawless. Thank you very much." A notification popped up on his screen, causing a change in his expression. "The board meeting has been rescheduled to an earlier time. In the early hours of tomorrow. We're not set to present for another week," Emma said with a frown. James let out a sigh regarding Bennett's actions. "We must wrap up the quarterly reports by tonight." As the sun dipped below the horizon and the office grew quiet, Emma made her way to James's office, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. His screens were filled with spreadsheets, detailing financial projections for every department. Emma observed that the community program is yielding early results, highlighting the figures from her division. The energy savings in the pilot locations have surpassed expectations. "That's our silver lining," James concurred, rubbing his eyes. "The performance of the international division is lacking." Emma settled next to him, examining the numbers closely. Their approach lacks the necessary individuality. They are working to apply the same solutions to meet various regional requirements. James regarded her with keen curiosity. "You have examined their reports." I strive to grasp the entirety of the organization, rather than focusing solely on my own area. They toiled until the clock struck midnight, arranging for delivery and scattering documents across James's conference table. As the final report reached completion, Emma collected her belongings, preparing to depart. "How are you getting home?" James asked, suddenly realizing the hour. "Rideshare." Emma let out a long yawn. "It's past the time for cycling." "I can take you," James said, reaching for his keys. In the stillness of his car, as the city lay in slumber, Emma sensed the lines between their professional and personal connections beginning to fade. "I appreciate you staying late," James remarked as they approached her apartment. "Your input enhances the report significantly." "That's what teammates are for," Emma responded. James arrived at her building. "Concerning Bennett, exercise caution. He served as my father's most trusted advisor and continues to think he is safeguarding the company from what he perceives as my rash choices." "So, are you considering hiring me?" Emma inquired, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "It's about understanding that the future should not be reserved for just the privileged elite," James pointed out. "Bennett has yet to grasp that concept." Emma observed him in the soft glow of the fading light. "And you really do?" "I'm in the process of learning," James confessed. "Sweet dreams, Emma." The following morning, Emma stirred awake to find a message from James waiting for her. "The board has reached a unanimous decision to approve the funding for the next phase." Bennett was outvoted. For the first time, Emma sensed that her two worlds could be more harmonious than she had imagined, and that James Montgomery might be the one crafting connections between them. "Our funding is being reduced." Emma gazed intently at the budget proposal displayed on her tablet. The figures validated her deepest anxieties. The community outreach program faced a significant reduction of 60%. Zoe turned her head, her eyes growing wide with surprise. "That doesn't seem accurate. We are surpassing every goal we've set." Emma perused the document, seeking clarity. A note has been made regarding the consolidation of resources for essential business activities. From his workstation, Michael muttered about Bennett's language. For weeks, he has been quietly confiding in the board members. Emma placed her tablet on the table. "I must have a conversation with James." Upon arriving at James's office, she found the door firmly shut. Distinctive in its own right, she could hear loud voices coming from within. "Is everything all right?" she inquired of Olivia. The budget meeting dragged on, and Olivia responded with a measured tone, though it wasn't particularly favorable. The door swung open, revealing Richard Bennett, a look of contentment gracing his features. He gave a brief nod to Emma before making his way to the elevator with purpose. James stood in the doorway, his expression taut with irritation. "Emma, please enter." As the door clicked shut, James settled into his chair. "The proposal has come to your attention." "What transpired?" Emma insisted. "Last month, the board expressed complete support. Market dynamics, competitive challenges." James delivered the phrases with a lack of sincerity. Bennett convinced them that prioritizing premium clients offers a more secure approach in times of economic uncertainty. "That's just a fancy way of saying they're giving up on creativity," Emma countered. "The community program goes beyond mere charity, James. This is where we experiment with scalable solutions." "I am aware of that. Are you?" Emma's voice elevated. "It seems that whenever faced with pressure, you tend to fall back on familiar, lucrative technology designed for those who don't truly require it." James rose to his feet. "That seems unjust. I advocated passionately for your program. It seems it wasn't challenging enough, after all. You seem to lack insight into the dynamics of the corporate world. And you fail to grasp the essence of human ones," Emma interjected. "We have committed to these communities. Individuals have structured their financial plans based on the anticipated energy savings we outlined. We can still meet our current obligations," James suggested. "Simply refrain from expanding." Emma strode back and forth in front of his desk. Was this merely a case of corporate greenwashing? A delightful endeavor you never planned to see to completion? "That's beneath you," James murmured softly. "You understand me more deeply than that." "Am I?" Emma halted her restless movements to confront him directly. Your words resonate with the air of a privileged executive, just as I anticipated when I rolled up on my bicycle. A flicker of pain crossed James' face before his features set into a steely resolve. My obligations extend to the whole organization, not solely to your specific initiative. As soon as the words escaped his lips, a wave of regret washed over him. Yet Emma was already making her way to the door. Emma, hold on. I need to convey to my team their diminished significance to Greenfield. She responded with an icy demeanor. Pardon me. The following week introduced a frigid atmosphere to their once cordial collaboration. They engaged solely when required. Emails took the place of conversations. The effortless bond that had formed between them dissipated. Emma immersed herself in the task of salvaging her program, dedicating long hours into the night. Her team rallied around her vision, resolute in their mission to demonstrate their worth even with limited resources. James, on the other hand, felt a rising discomfort with Bennett's expanding sway. At an intimate dinner with important board members, James observed Bennett glancing at his phone time and again. Hey Richard, James mentioned something important, just so you know. Bennett responded to confirm some details regarding our strategy pivot. What shift? Inquired board member Sylvia Chan. Bennett beamed. James and I have been exploring strategies to enhance our patent portfolio. Nothing definitive yet, James scowled. He and Bennett had not engaged in any such conversation. The next morning, James requested that Olivia look into Bennett's recent messages. In the afternoon, she entered his office, gently shutting the door behind her. You have to check this out, she said, setting a folder down on his desk. Within the contents were correspondences exchanged between Bennett and high-ranking officials at NextGen Resources, a company infamous for obtaining green technology patents, only to set them aside in favor of their current, lucrative yet environmentally damaging operations. James expressed disbelief, stating that he has been negotiating the sale of our core filtration patents without the board's approval. It only escalates. Olivia flipped to the last page. The agreement encompasses personal provisions for him, a position on the board at NextGen, and options for stock acquisition. He's betraying us, James murmured, the sting of treachery piercing through. Bennett was a friend of his father's, a man James had placed his trust in, even with their contrasting views. That afternoon, James convened an urgent board meeting. As the directors entered the room, Bennett exuded confidence. But that changed when James handed out copies of the intercepted communications. What does this mean? Sylvia asked, her eyes darting over the documents. A misunderstanding, Bennett started. These emails reveal your attempts to negotiate the sale of Greenfield's core patents to NextGen, while at the same time advocating for cuts to our most innovative program, the very program that is developing technologies that NextGen would perceive as the greatest threat to their existing business model. The atmosphere was charged with a barrage of furious inquiries. Bennett sought to justify his actions, asserting that he was simply considering possibilities, yet the evidence against him was overwhelming. Following a charged hour of deliberation, the board reached a decision to dismiss Bennett, contingent upon a comprehensive investigation. As the last of the guests departed, James lingered at the table, his gaze fixed on the papers that laid bare the extent of the betrayal from someone he had trusted like kin. Later that evening, Emma found herself immersed in her work when James suddenly appeared in her doorway. "Do you have a moment?" he inquired softly. Emma acknowledged with a nod, placing her work aside. James shut the door softly and passed her the folder. "This is something you must witness." As Emma read, her face transformed from bewilderment to astonishment. Bennett was betraying us while undermining our program? James confirmed that the program was in direct competition with NextGen's business model. He wasn't merely exercising caution. He was intentionally sabotaging our efforts. Emma placed the folder on the table. "What comes next?" "The board has decided to part ways with him and—" James paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "I must extend my sincerest apologies to you. Your doubts about my dedication were justified. I ought to have examined more thoroughly the reasons behind Bennett's strong resolve to eliminate your program in particular. What is the situation regarding the funding cuts? It has been reversed already. The board has approved the complete restoration of your budget, along with a 15% increase to expedite development. Emma ought to have felt victorious, yet the weariness etched on James's face made her hesitate. This goes beyond mere business for you, doesn't it? Bennett was a companion of your father's. Beyond that, following my father's passing, Richard stepped into the role of my mentor. James tousled his hair with a casual gesture. I placed my full trust in him. His admission's vulnerability pierced through Emma's lingering anger. I'm truly sorry, James. That level of treachery, it's intimate. It leads me to ponder all aspects of life. Who could potentially be opposing us? What other errors have I committed by placing my trust in the wrong individuals? Without hesitation, Emma extended her hand across the desk to envelop his with hers. Your judgment is something you can rely on, James. This company was established on strong foundations. A single act of betrayal does not alter that fact. James glanced at their hands before turning his gaze to Emma. It has been a week without our collaboration, and I have truly felt the absence. Emma confessed that she had missed it as well, even in moments of anger towards you. Partners again? James inquired. Emma beamed with joy. Collaborators? I know it's here somewhere, Emma muttered, scanning the street corner where she'd secured her bicycle that morning. Raindrops began to descend, drenching her thin jacket as she surveyed the surroundings with increasing concern. A man strolling by came to a halt, in search of a blue bike for commuting. I witnessed an individual cutting a lock roughly an hour ago and promptly reported it to the authorities. But Emma felt a heavy weight in her chest. Thank you for your effort. She retrieved her phone to summon a rideshare, then hesitated. Even with their mended bond, she found herself reluctant to reach out to James. They were set to unveil their updated strategy to the board tomorrow morning, and she had essential data stored on her laptop at home. The robbery occurred at the most inopportune moment imaginable. With a deep breath, she began her journey. 3 miles in the rain wasn't perfect, but she would persevere. She had walked about 6 blocks when a recognizable electric car glided up beside her. James lowered the window, looking for a lift. Emma paused, droplets cascading from her hair. What gave it away? James confessed that he hadn't. I was on my way to your office when Olivia informed me that you had already departed. Then I noticed you strolling through the downpour. Emma eased herself into the passenger seat, a small pool of water forming beneath her. Someone took my bicycle. Is that the reason you were out walking? What was the reason for not calling me? The presentation is scheduled for tomorrow. There are plenty of concerns on your plate. James sighed and turned away from the curb, a hint of frustration in his demeanor. That's not the way partnerships function, Emma. They traveled in a serene quietude until Emma guided him to her apartment complex. She clarified that the information we require is stored on my laptop. I'll quickly dash up and get it. James made up his mind to accompany you. Let's collaborate on the presentation. Emma paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. Simply, it's different from what you're accustomed to. Above, Emma unlatched the door to her apartment. The area was cozy yet inviting. Eclectically curated furniture positioned with intention. Walls adorned in a vibrant shade of yellow. Flourishing greenery adorning each windowsill. Make yourself comfortable, Emma said, vanishing into her bedroom to fetch some dry clothes. James meandered through the living room, observing the intricacies. Bookshelves crafted from repurposed timber. Framed pictures of Emma alongside her mother and friends. A modest desk tucked away in the corner, adorned with a collection of sketches for innovative filtration systems. Mia stepped out of her bedroom, halting abruptly at the sight of James. You must be the renowned leader, she remarked, folding her arms. Emma frequently discusses your company. James Montgomery introduced himself. And you are Mia, the one who works in social services. Did Emma bring me up? Mia appeared taken aback. She claims you are the most committed supporter she has ever encountered. Mia appeared pleased, nodding in approval. If you're in the mood for a cup, there's coffee waiting for you in the kitchen. I'm off to start my night shift." Upon Emma's return in fresh attire, she discovered James scrutinizing a photograph capturing a youthful Emma alongside her mother, set against the backdrop of a quaint little house. Emma shared about my childhood home. "My mother put in double shifts to maintain it. James noted your happiness. We existed." Emma positioned her laptop on the kitchen table. "Living in poverty doesn't equate to a lack of joy." They toiled for hours, perfecting the presentation that would determine the fate of Emma's program. As numbers and forecasts populated the spreadsheets, their dialogue meandered into more intimate realms. James leaned back in his chair and remarked, "My father built his business on traditional energy. When I began discussing renewable technology in college, he considered it to be naive idealism." "What inspired you to go after it in the first place?" Emma inquired. James fell silent for a brief moment. "I explored a community impacted by one of our company's facilities. The water was deemed unsafe for consumption. As respiratory issues began to emerge among the children, it dawned on me that our family's prosperity was built on their suffering. That likely stirred up some conflict with your father. After I departed from the family business to launch Greenfield, he didn't utter a word to me for 8 months, James confessed. He passed away holding onto the conviction that I had erred. Emma observed him from her position at the table. Bennett's betrayal struck deep, leaving a profound impact. He served as the link to your father. James gave a nod at the end. Perhaps that's appropriate. Perhaps it's time to articulate Greenfield according to my own vision, rather than in the shadow of my father's legacy. The following morning, they unveiled their strategy to the board. Emma detailed how community implementations might foster innovation, while James shared the financial projections indicating long-term growth potential. The board reached a unanimous decision to endorse their plan, which encompasses increased funding for Emma's program and the incorporation of her methodologies into other divisions. As the last of the board members filed out, James shifted his gaze to Emma. "Our collaboration is truly effective." Indeed, she concurred. Varied viewpoints, shared objectives. In the weeks that followed, their collaboration grew stronger. James started accompanying Emma on site visits, familiarizing himself with the names of community members and grasping their needs directly. Emma, in the meantime, grew more self-assured in corporate environments, her creative ideas transforming Greenfield's entire strategy. One evening, after wrapping up a successful community installation, Emma glanced at her phone and let out a frustrated groan. "The rideshare app has encountered an issue, and time is slipping away." "I can give you a ride," James said. "But first, there's something I want to show you." He guided them through a rejuvenating industrial district. He parked outside the community workshop and guided her in. In the back corner, bicycle parts were arranged with precision. "What is this all about?" Emma inquired, her brow furrowed in confusion. "I considered that rather than getting you a brand new bicycle to replace the one that was stolen, which you might see as excessive, we could collaborate and build one ourselves." James appeared a bit anxious. "The frame is made from recycled materials, and the components are sustainable whenever feasible." Emma glided her fingers across the components, lost in silence. James continued, stating that the shop owner mentioned we could utilize this space during the evenings and on weekends. "I understand it may not be as easy as making a purchase, but I believed the journey could hold significance." Emma gazed at him, perceiving both fragility and optimism in his demeanor. This was not a lavish display from someone of affluence. It was a reflective gesture from an individual who had genuinely grasped her essence. "It's absolutely perfect," she murmured gently. That evening, they commenced their work on the bicycle. James demonstrated an unexpected skill with tools, while Emma offered her expertise in technical matters. As they assembled the components, their hands would sometimes graze against each other, each contact lingering just a bit more than required. On the third evening at the workshop, as the bicycle began to take form between them, James halted his efforts. "Emma," he murmured softly, "there's something I must share with you." She placed her wrench aside, her heart pounding with unexpected intensity. "These past months collaborating with you have transformed my perspective on everything. Beyond mere business or sustainability, It's about what truly holds significance in life. James inhaled deeply. Your perspective on the world captivates me deeply. Emma's demeanor became gentler, and I'm captivated by the way you're starting to perceive it in a new light. In the modest workshop, filled with tools and bicycle components, James Montgomery, a wealthy executive from a life of privilege, tenderly grasped the hand of Emma Reynolds, a dedicated community advocate born from humble beginnings. As their lips touched, it wasn't about eliminating their differences, but rather celebrating the power discovered in their unique viewpoints, brought together by common beliefs. The bicycle they crafted side by side emerged as a poignant emblem of their bond. Functional, eco-friendly, and crafted with attention from diverse elements to forge something distinctly resilient. Soft morning light streamed through the windows of a cozy yet unpretentious home, nestled in a neighborhood that harmoniously blended urban accessibility with a sense of community warmth. It had been a year and a half since Emma and James had confessed their feelings during that workshop, and their lives had changed in ways they never could have imagined. Emma lingered in the kitchen, poring over project notes as she savored her coffee. The wall calendar was adorned with notes of community installations, board meetings, and weekend cycling excursions. A picture on the fridge captured Emma and James alongside their mothers, the two women beaming together despite their starkly contrasting backgrounds. James arrived, fully attired for his professional duties. The team from Singapore has shared their implementation plans. The filtration system has been modified to suit monsoon conditions. Excellent timing, Emma responded. Next week, we will be meeting with the leaders of the Jakarta community. Greenfield Innovations transformed significantly through their collaborative impact. Emma now led the global community implementation, overseeing an entire division instead of just a small program. James transformed the company's strategy, weaving Emma's vision of accessible technology into the fabric of their premium offerings. Their private life had achieved a comparable equilibrium. This home was selected as a perfect midpoint between Emma's former neighborhood and the bustling downtown area, allowing her to stay linked to her community while offering James the necessary space for his professional endeavors. On weekends, they rode their bikes together, occasionally accompanied by Emma's mother or Mia. James unearthed a knack for urban gardening, transforming their modest backyard into a flourishing green oasis. As they got ready to head out for the day, Emma's phone suddenly rang. Emma Reynolds. This is Dr. Amara Okafor representing the International Sustainability Alliance. Emma activated the speakerphone. Thank you for your prompt response, Dr. Okafor. I'm reaching out regarding your application. The committee found your community implementation model to be exceptionally impressive. We are pleased to extend to you the opportunity to take on the role of regional director for our projects in Southeast Asia. Emma stood still. The ISA position had long been the job she aspired to achieve. Worldwide influence, engaging directly with the communities that are most impacted by climate change. She had submitted her application months prior, at a time when her connection with James was still developing, and before her responsibilities at Greenfield had grown. That's fantastic news. She accomplished it. Dr. Okafor continued, stating that the role would necessitate moving to Singapore for a minimum of 2 years. It is essential to have an individual present to facilitate communication between governmental bodies and local communities. James's demeanor was meticulously composed, yet Emma could discern the anguish reflected in his gaze. May I take a few days to reflect on this? Emma inquired. Absolutely, do inform us by Friday. Once the call concluded, the kitchen was enveloped in silence. Emma placed her phone aside, her thoughts swirling. You should take it, James finally said. It represents all your efforts and dedication. Yet, we have created something significant in this place, Emma responded. In our shared experience at Greenfield, I'd never urge you to abandon your aspirations, Emma. And I would never request that you relinquish yours, she replied. Greenfield embodies your imagination. They drove to work separately that day, the burden of their choice lingering in the air around them. At Greenfield, they upheld a facade of professionalism, yet an undercurrent of tension was palpable among colleagues. That evening, James returned home late to discover Emma enveloped in a sea of papers at the dining table. Maps, reports, and project outlines adorn the surface. She explained that she has been looking into EIS's projects in Southeast Asia. Attention is directed towards coastal communities impacted by the encroaching threat of rising sea levels. James positioned himself opposite her. Your expertise is essential. Indeed, Emma conceded, but consider this. She slid a stack of papers across the table to him. The challenges they face in implementation mirror precisely what we triumphed over at Greenfield last year. James examined the materials, his analytical thoughts at work even amid his inner chaos. Their collaborative approach with the government requires some fine-tuning. Precisely, Emma inclined her body closer. Their approach to community engagement lacks the necessary adaptability to various cultural contexts. James placed the papers on the table. Emma, what do you mean? These issues can be resolved, but they require input from multiple viewpoints. She inhaled deeply. What if Greenfield suggested a collaboration with ISA? We possess the knowledge and skills they require. They possess the regional ties we seek. James observed her intently. Are you proposing that we take Greenfield Global as an ISA partner? It would propel the objectives of both organizations forward. Emma paused. It would signify the opportunity to create something collaboratively instead of opting for our individual journeys. For the first time since the call, James smiled, consistently discovering the creative answer. Is it possible? Emma inquired. From a logistical standpoint, certainly. We are contemplating the expansion into Asia. This would provide us with the appropriate entry point, backed by local credibility. James extended his hand toward hers. But Emma, I must ask, is this genuinely what you desire? Or are you sacrificing your aspirations for our sake? Creating a tangible impact in the world has always been my dream, Emma stated with conviction. The journey toward that aspiration can transform. By collaborating, we would achieve greater success than we could on our own. In the following 2 days, they crafted a comprehensive partnership proposal. James showcased it to the board at Greenfield, whereas Emma engaged in a discussion with Dr. Okafor. Both organizations acknowledged the promising collaboration. By Friday, they reached an agreement in principle. Emma was set to take on the role of joint director for the Southeast Asia Initiative, serving as a representative for both ISA and Greenfield. James planned to split his time between headquarters and Asia, with longer visits every quarter. Demonstration projects would be established in 5 countries, merging ISA's regional expertise with Greenfield's implementation methods. 3 weeks later, the dawn brushed the sky with hues of color as Emma and James pedaled their way to the airport, eager for their inaugural journey to kick off the initiative. Emma pedaled the bicycle they had crafted side by side, now adorned with saddlebags filled with project documents. Who could have imagined? Emma pondered as they halted at a crossroads, that arriving on a bicycle would result in all of this. James gazed at her, the soft morning light casting a glow on her features. It wasn't the bicycle, he said, his tone filled with warmth and fondness. Your actions and words upon your arrival truly rendered me speechless. As they made their way to the airport, they pedaled alongside each other, perfectly in sync, neither leading nor trailing. Collaborators advancing together towards uncharted territories they would mold with their unique abilities and common aspirations. A woman, arriving at an interview on her bicycle, and the millionaire who had once been left utterly speechless, discovered something truly rare and valuable. A connection that allowed both to thrive without compromise. They embraced their individuality while encouraging each other to evolve into the best versions of themselves.